Welcome to our Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning 2025 movie discussion podcast with your hosts, Avi and Ben. It's great to have you back. I haven't seen you in person for like 3 years now, so it's really awesome that we finally get to do one of these actually in person, face to face. What are your opening thoughts on the 8th Mission Impossible movie?
Even I thought they said now that Tom Cruise is in the 60s now, about like it's like way older than any other action stars. About because even if they believe that the Final Reckoning, it'd be like the final part of the franchise.
I think it was originally intended that these last two Reckoning movies close out the franchise, yes. Yeah. Which I hope is not the case, because I would really love to see a Mission Impossible 9 and a Mission Impossible 10, especially with that last scene. The last scene of the movie kind of makes it seem that it could still be open-ended to continue in some way, which we'll get to that in a bit. But I think that with that last scene, now there's better lighting. Thank you. With that, if you know which last scene I'm talking about, when they're all in that town square, that kind of.
That's they kind of go separate ways.
Yeah, they didn't even speak a word to each other. I thought that was a weak last scene, but we'll get on to that part. But it kept it open-ended in a way. But what was your first impressions of this 8th movie?
Well, first impressions about they had a good flashback, the archive of scenes about all the previous films. So like.
That's something in the first hour that bothered me actually. Yeah. Because for some people, they assumed that people were coming to watch that weren't fans, that didn't watch all these already. So in that first hour, there were too many flashbacks, too many callbacks, flashbacks of things that were like a lot. You already saw it 5 minutes ago and it came back, and it was like too much in that first hour of exposition of all the flashbacks and the callbacks, which was too much. Like, to me, the movie didn't really get started till about an hour and a half in, when he goes underneath for how do you say that Russian,
submarine. Yeah.
The water submarine scene. That was like the first actual real start of the movie. Everything else before that was like all over the place. And I hope you guys all enjoy our background of this river or lake of behind us. Thought it would be a neat thing to have the water because of his water scene in the movie, but also really because it's a beautiful setting, and we're finally doing this one face-to-face in person. I also didn't like, there was only really one mask scene early on when he and Benji.
Benji, they discussed to rescue one of the prisoners in Paris.
From the last movie.
Yeah, just they ask her to join them. Huh?
Oh, just really quick before I forget, guys, since this really is live, there's a helicopter right above us, and there's only really a helicopter in Mission Impossible Fallout, which I consider the best of all the Mission Impossible movies. So that is a real live helicopter right there. But yeah, so they were getting her out of that prison thing, and then Ethan and Benji were after that mask reveal, there was really no other mask stuff. So to me, it was like it's either like a mid Mission Impossible movie for me or low. But I wouldn't rank this in the higher top 3 for me at all. But we're gonna get to how you feel about it. So the mask. Now, to me, it took a lot to get to the point, like to even get to that water scene with all that stuff beforehand. But that. Well, you're talking about the flashbacks first. So that first hour, there were so many callbacks and flashbacks that it was too much. It was like they should have trusted that the audience knew what they were getting into with watching it.
Yeah, because even they say it's the last movie.
Supposedly the last movie. Supposedly. But like I said, with that last scene, they ended it in a way where it totally could continue with that last scene, because they didn't say a word to each other. They were all there by the town square, didn't say a word. They all just left, and then it just started the credits. It was like they didn't even talk to each other. If they were really a team, the team would talk, how about how the mission was afterwards and all. It just didn't. I think the team itself was better in like Ghost Protocol, Rogue Nation, and Fallout. Like the team stuff was great. Yeah. But then with this like Reckoning type stuff. With this Reckoning type stuff, especially this 8th movie, originally, if they were going to do this movie after Fallout, the 7th movie, I think they should have had like one long movie, but instead they had like a 4 or 5 hour movie that they cut in half to 2.5 hours on both of these. Now, don't get me wrong, I thought Dead Reckoning from 2023, that had some that had some positives. That had some things with it that really went well. But I think once they saw Dead Reckoning not doing well in 2023, guys, and that's a live speedboat behind us, by the way. Authentic raw footage, real live speedboat.
If it's not Tom Cruise on behind the boat.
Oh, yeah. That's a good comment about him behind the stunts with that. Yeah, nice. Very, very good. Now, what I was saying was, I talked about how the team aspect was better in the earlier. Yeah, and it just, to me, it didn't feel like. I think the writing was bad. I think it had bad writing in this 8th movie. I think if with better writing and more connecting things in a quicker way instead of trying to get an hour and a half into the point, then that first hour and a half, didn't like so much. But
even what's most disappointing about that is they didn't bring back Jeremy Renner or the.
That right there, yeah, exactly. That was a missed opportunity. If, let's say, this 8th movie, The Final Reckoning, really ends up having to be the last movie, and no more, at least no more Tom after this, bringing Jeremy Renner back in some way would totally pay off to the fans on whatever they use Renner to be a part in this movie. But the missed opportunity was not bringing Jeremy Renner back to do something in this one.
Evie has to recover from the snowplow incident.
No, he's been recovered since that. He's been recovered from that since enough that he's still doing something now. Yeah, I think it was a huge missed opportunity that Tom did not bring Jeremy Renner back for this 8th movie.
Yeah.
But I do like, however, when the movie started, one of the first voices you hear is one of my favorite villains from the series. When the entity talks, is Solomon Lane. Is Solomon Lane in the captions, and the voice is heard within the first 30 seconds of the movie as that whole entity thing opening up the movie there. I also like opening up how Ethan had to put in from the president, who we find out now is Erica Sloan from Fallout, that the technology to hear his message is a VHS VCR tape. That was pretty cool.
Even how Tom Cruise off screen handled those torturers stuff.
Which part? Because the one part, they had the action and torture there in the beginning there within the first hour, and I didn't like that because that was too silly. They made a joke out of it because while Ethan was taking out those two guys and Haley Atwell's Grace was just watching, making her noise reactions, that took a lot of people off. We didn't like how that was. They should have shown the fighting action. It was made out to be a joke in that fighting scene.
Because could it be an R-rated Mission Impossible?
No. Mission Impossible is only PG-13. Oh. But the way that they did it as a joke, to have her just watch like that with the cartoon noises as he takes it out off camera, put a lot of us off of how that was. That was one of the bad parts also with the movie to me. I'll give credit though. The water scene we talked about, that first water scene where he goes under to retrieve, how do you say the Russian?
The submersible?
Yeah, that thing, to do all that for a while, that was really neat how that all happened. And then of course, later on, with that last main thing on the analog biplanes. But see, the water scene he does and the biplanes, while those are two really well done stunts, those don't save the movie for me for how that first hour and an hour and a half kind of drags on with all the stuff it's doing. But yeah. But what did you like about the movie, and what was there anything you didn't like about the movie?
Well, I like the movie is he goes inside the capsule of the entity to communicate to the AI.
Oh, you mean that part early on when he had the thing on to talk with it?
Talk with it.
Yeah, that made it too sci-fi-ish, yeah. But I know what you mean. And before we continue, I just want to let everybody know, if you're enjoying this, let us know in the comment section down below whether you liked or disliked The Final Reckoning, and whatever else you want to talk about with the 8th movie, The Final Reckoning, and the other movies. Put your comments down for us down below, and like this if you like it. So, yeah, to me, it didn't feel like that last scene. It didn't feel like this was the last one. But on the other level though, is that the other way about this though is kind of like with the entity AI taking over, wanting the nukes of all the countries, and that you can't have a bigger threat than that. So how do you do another movie when that's the highest possible threat they ever had to face? And so, yeah.
Not like a Skynet or like a Whopper from the War Games.
What? But which one's War Games? The what?
Whopper, yeah, AI.
I'm not familiar with the Whopper from the War Games, so I'm not sure the War Games part. But yes, a lot of people have compared it to Terminator Skynet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but again, Granted, yes, he's in his 60s, so the fact that he did all those stunts in his 60s is incredible, but obviously, I think the studio probably wanted him for this to be the last one, but I know he's got so many other projects lined up, as we said, with Top Gun 3 and Days of Thunder 2, and hopefully we get a standalone. What was that? Tropic. What was the character's name again? Les Grossman. I want a Les Grossman movie. I would love a Les Grossman movie. But even with all those other movies, and if he wants to work into his 90s and 100s, hey, I know I want to see Mission 9 and Mission 10 because I love these mission movies. But I thought. Again, it was to me, this movie, Final Reckoning, was a disappointment. Like, to me, I still think Fallout is the pinnacle best one of all of them, outside of the original, of course. And then, so how would you rank these so far?
Well, even when they show a flashback of Mission Impossible 2 about...
There was a brief flashback of Mission 2, yeah.
Mission Impossible 2, I consider it a non-canon.
A lot of people do, actually, yeah. But if you saw the beginning with all the flashbacks and callbacks, when they were showing all the other movies, they did actually show him on like the bike or something from the second one. So even though you and a lot of other people don't consider it canon with the rest of the series, it is still acknowledged in those quick frames. If you watch all the flashbacks they show of all the movies, 2 is still shown a bit in some form, like with the something. But I get what you're saying there. So I would say you would rank Mission Impossible 2 in last place at the 8th spot, right?
Yeah.
And what would be 7th? 7th spot.
7th spot, like the lowest, like
the 7th spot, right above or below. If Mission Impossible 2 is your 8th place, what's next in 7th?
Even the first one is the first movie had mixed results about but even they don't like the first movie because
where would you rank the first movie?
7th.
You're ranking? Oh, you're actually going to rank the first one all the way down there, that far back?
Because the original star of the Mission Impossible, like Jim Phelps, the one about played by John Voight, he's a original team leader in that TV series.
Yeah, when the first movie came out, some people were bothered about the whole Phelps reveal there. Yeah.
Yeah, because now it becomes a rogue.
But I don't think that necessarily makes it a bad movie just for the one character thing, though. I think a lot of people really do like Mission Impossible 1. A lot of people like the first one. I get what you're saying about the second one, but there's a lot of people that either have Mission Impossible 1 either in first place or somewhere after that. Yeah. And speaking of the first one you said there also, with the whole Phelps thing, isn't it interesting that in Christopher McQuarrie, the director, and Tom, they brought back that other character who was the analyst of the computer thing? William, I don't know how to say
William Apur?
Well, no, whatever, the analyst guy that was in the first movie briefly, he comes back with his wife.
Amelia Estevez?
No. They showed flashbacks of Amelia Estevez, but no, I'm talking about that guy that was in the computer room in the first movie, that Tom hijacked.
Oh yeah, the vault. Yeah,
in the vault there, that guy, they brought him back now, older, with a wife, with a larger story, and he helped the rest of the team.
So
that was kind of interesting to bring him back like that.
So he's about known about the entity.
He helps with it all, with the whole team, yeah. So, you know which guy I'm talking about now? Yeah, he has his wife, the Asian wife.
Yeah, in that some kind of like Alaskan something.
Right, in that Alaskan part. And that's also where the Russians come in, and the Russians, obviously, eventually, that comes down to fighting with our team there. But I thought, like I said, the team element was weak compared to those other movies. And I thought, if this is the last movie, if this really ends up being the last final movie, I think it ended on a bad note, in my opinion. But tell the audience what you really think about this movie on parts we haven't talked about yet. So what do you think about this?
They have also about apocalypse about the nuclear about to be armed.
Right.
There's a group cult group that believes in the apocalypse. Yeah, the occultists.
Oh, they briefly mentioned that in the very beginning of the movie. Yeah, but they didn't really go anywhere with that.
Well, except they show the ones that's fighting at this fighting Tom Cruise and the American submarine about the one.
Everybody, that's another second helicopter on this podcast. We've got a second helicopter. Well, you were saying about which scene again?
In the American submarine where Tom Cruise is a trivia. There's one of them who's a member of who wants to keep the apocalypse happening.
Oh yes, the one guy did. Yeah.
It's like it being brainwashed.
Right, exactly. Well, I like when before he went down in the water, when he was training for it first, he fought some guy at some point while the team was fighting out in Alaska with that whole thing. And when he was fighting the guy, he actually knew the guy's name or something. The line of dialogue said, "Your name so and so, whatever his name is. You spend too much time on the internet." I thought that was a great line. But another thing I wanted to mention before I forget. For anybody that liked Mission, I'm gonna come back to me one part. Mission Impossible 3. For anybody that liked Mission Impossible 3 a lot, they finally explain what the purpose of the
red rabbits.
Yes, exactly. What else? There was something else about this movie. Keep talking, and I'll try to remember.
It's a very tragic thing. They had to kill off one of the major characters.
Oh, let's not. For anybody that hasn't seen the movie yet, let's not talk about that part. I don't want us to ruin that for anybody who hasn't seen it. But let's just say that there's a very important character from the whole franchise series that unfortunately doesn't make it with the rest of the team, and that's all we can say about that at this point.
Yeah. And also that Asai Morales of the main villain.
Oh, that reminds me. Yes, that's what I wanted to talk about. I thought that S.I. Morales coming back, I thought he was a weak cartoon villain again. He's only there like in the very beginning and the very end, and you don't see him in any of the middle. He's a weak villain. To me, the top villain of the series is still Philip Seymour Hoffman from the third movie, and then second is like a tie between Solomon Lane and Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill. What about the one in the Ghost Protocol thing about the
Ghost Protocol? Well, if we're talking villains, that was a weak villain for Ghost Protocol. The Ghost Protocol, that Russian guy had a weak villain. But speaking of Ghost Protocol, to kind of connect it to Final Reckoning, they already did the new kind of storyline in Ghost Protocol in the fourth movie. So it's and they did it kind of in the sixth movie Fallout as well. So when they're doing nukes a third time in Final Reckoning, it's like you're running out of ideas for what this threat thing's going to be when you already did the nukes in the fourth and sixth movie already. But that's a whole other thing. But speaking of the S.I. Morales, I didn't think he made a good villain. He brought the movie down a lot. I guess it's hard to find good villains because I thought the three best villains to me were Philip Seymour Hoffman, Solomon Lane, and August Walker's Henry Cavill.
Okay.
And we were speaking about Superman earlier, off camera, off podcast. They did him dirty with how they pushed Cavill out of that role when he still wanted to be a part of it. He is a lot of people's probably favorite Superman next to Christopher Reeve. But not to get too far sidetrack on Superman and stuff. What else stood out to you about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning?
Well, there's also sometimes they have two celebrities you know about that makes appearance, like Nick Offerman and there's Hannah Waddingham.
Oh yeah, they're like the she's like a military figure and he's like a government type official.
Yeah, general type thing.
I didn't really know them from other stuff, so they didn't really do anything for me. But speaking about that government stuff, that exposition, that dialogue went on too long. There could have been a way to speed the story up without all those government talking scenes. It ruined it.
It's like watching a Doctor Strangelove thing.
Exactly. It's kind of connected in like a Doctor Strange type way. Is a good way of connecting it. Yeah, exactly. Absolutely. But like I said, to me, the water thing for the Russian thing to go down and do all that, I like how Grace and Haley Atwell saved him there at the end in the kiss, because she's amazing looking. But that reminds me. But this we can talk about because it was just 2 years ago, and now I'm not currently with it. The Ilsa Faust. They did her dirty. They did her dirty.
Rebecca Ferguson.
Yeah, Rebecca Ferguson. I think more people, generally speaking, for the most part, more people liked Ilsa Faust, Rebecca Ferguson, more than this Haley, which she was kind of interesting in Dead Reckoning, but then they didn't give her much to do in the Final Reckoning. It's just a missed opportunity that one. Ilsa Faust, Rebecca Ferguson's not in this, and like we said before, they could have gave Jeremy Renner something interesting and engaging to do, and the fans would have loved bringing Jeremy Renner back. I want to know the reasons why they couldn't find a way to put him in there. Are we still talking about the villains, or are we other parts of the movie still now?
Well, let me think about other parts of the story about even about that we liked about Submersible.
Oh, right, that's right. When in that part, after he was in there for so long, and then he couldn't get out at the end, she saved him by that kiss, so apparently, which is really great because she looks fantastic. And what else did you want to say about the Russian? Can't pronounce that word. That whole water scene.
It's like almost over long about makes you want to sleep or something, but
it could possibly put a lot of people to sleep.
Yeah, even not to mention the sound like if you're like a water pressure or something that if you get questioned something.
Exactly.
It's like you're.
The director McQuarrie, is that his name?
Christopher McQuarrie.
Him and Tom with all this. It's like people are going to know eventually, like that water scene and that biplane scene, both of them, how they pulled filming either one of those off is really something else. But again, while I love those two stunt scenes a whole lot, those two set pieces, it doesn't save the movie for me. So while you said off camera, off podcast, you said it was a very good finale, in your opinion, and I'm sure in other people's opinions as well. But to me, it was like, for me, it's really close to Mission Impossible 2 to me. It's down 7, 8th place for me. Like 7 and 8, they're kind of fighting or getting close with Mission Impossible 2. Like, I understand. I enjoy Mission Impossible 2. To me, like, having seen it a lot of times, it was nostalgic because I saw Mission Impossible 2 with my dad. I saw the James Bond movie. The first James Bond movie I saw with my dad was The World Is Not Enough, 1999. Then we saw the first Mission Impossible movie together. Not the first movie, but the first one together, Mission Impossible 2, in 2000. And even though, and they really do, if you rewatch the movie, in the beginning, there really is some callback flashbacks to briefly see him maybe on the bike or something in part of 2. So, and I know like people want to pretend to never happened, but to me, Final Reckoning, this 8th movie, it's not even in the top 3 or 4 to me. To me, it's like mid or low on the quality level, honestly. Because those two stunts don't save it for me. Because that first hour and a half is all this stuff going on that could have been cut or made in a different type of way. I thought a better way, in my opinion. The first 5 minutes of the movie should have started with that whole Russian. How do you say that S word again?
Submersible.
The submersible. You know how they showed that in the beginning of Dead Reckoning with all the Russian things with that.
Yeah.
Well, they should have, since he already knew at the end of the last movie that's where they needed to go. They take an hour to an hour and a half just to get him back to that spot with all this nonsense. The first hour and a half of him not even going there because that's where he needs the MacGuffin to get the thing, to get the other thing. And I was like, you should have had the first 5 or 10 minutes, in my opinion, going straight to that water. However you pronounce that Russian thing, in that first 5-10 minutes of the movie. Yeah. And then that would have made it interesting to me because it goes right into it. To me, the beginning of the 7th movie, Dead Reckoning, with the Russian stuff there, also, I didn't like how that was the opening. I thought I was in a, what was it, that Crimson Tide movie from '95 or something? Yeah. I thought I was in like, or the Hunt for Red October. I thought I was in another movie. What is all this Russian stuff?
How about The Abyss? In the movie they have
or The Abyss. No, but The Abyss is a good movie. I'm just saying, like, in my opinion, the beginning of both the 7th and 8th movie could have been better openings. But anyway, but what else? You said you saw this one. You saw this 8th movie with your mom, you said? Yeah, did your mom have any thoughts on this?
She almost got a little shock about the finale, but
which part of the finale was a shock?
The biplane thing.
Oh yeah, well, the biplane I thought was really well done. I like how it was all analog, and he really obviously did that stunt, but obviously the other guy didn't, so the other guy, like, again, that villain, how do you say his name?
S.I. Morales.
S.I. Morales is his real name. He is one of the weaker, poor villains in the series.
But we never get to see a flashback.
Oh, that reminds me. Now, I'm sorry. Tell the flashback. Yeah, yeah.
We never get to see about how he knows about Ethan Hunt.
Oh, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I was trying to think about from earlier, from all the talks earlier on. Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about that for a sec. You know how there were some flashbacks in the 7th movie, how Ethan and him have a history together, and how he shoots some woman that Ethan loves, and they show some flashbacks about that.
He was married.
Were they married too together?
Well,
I don't know if they were married or not, but he was at least his girlfriend. He shot his girlfriend from, apparently this is all pre-Mission Impossible 1 supposed flashbacks that they showed in certain parts of 7 and Dead Reckoning. There is no acknowledgement or no more backstory on how him and Ethan are connected pre-Mission 1 and how and why he shot his girlfriend. That is, in the 8th movie, that's totally forgotten about when just kind of mentioned in the previous movie, the first part of the Reckoning series of that back-to-back thing there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they didn't explain what is their back history of why these two guys don't get along. Well, obviously he shot his girlfriend, but more into all that. They just flashback it in the previous movie and then never mention it again.
You did not mention about Michelle Monaghan about that.
No, but that's okay. No, she's okay though, because she was mentioned at the end of Ghost Protocol in the cameo, and then in a bit bigger of a scene in Fallout.
Yeah.
So she's a bit mentioned. But the fact that the pre-Mission Impossible girlfriend of that Hispanic woman, whoever that was mentioned in Dead Reckoning, that shot her, and then that was never brought again in further explanation in this 8th movie. So that was another, to me, missed opportunity. But let me try to think. Sure.
Mom from
Yes.
Mr. Quotes about after she rescued Ethan from the ice ball. She just forgot what the quote is about. I tried to look up the IMDb quotes, but it wasn't complete yet. So you have to wait till like the end of this year or when it's come out. So
No, wait. Which scene are we talking about for quotes?
the one she what's it Tom Cruise say to Haley Atwell from the ice pond.
When she saved him?
Yeah.
What? There was some sort of quote afterwards?
I tried to look for it, but it wasn't complete because the IMDb wasn't ready for the complete quotes about after when it comes out on DVD or the streaming about to know how you know what it's saying.
When you happen to find out what the quote is, please let me know because I want to know what they talked about in the quote together.
By the way, do you get to see the Hot Fuzz?
I never got into Hot Fuzz, but that reminds me. Simon Pegg, they gave him a little bit to do, like towards the end. The other women had to help him with that scene, but
about he actually got stabbed or something.
Well, yeah, he got a bit stabbed, but he still survived. Like I thought they could have gave him if this was really going to be if this is really the last one and no more after this, I think they should have gave his character a bit more to do.
Like anything, is there be a
anything?
spin-off?
Just give him something more to do.
Like spin-off.
Or something, yes. Well, something in the actual movie though to still do it if this is the last movie. I hope this isn't the last movie. I want there to be a Mission 9 and a Mission 10. It does sound like Tom is done with this, that he wants this one to be the last one. But in my opinion, it ended on a low bad note. And to me, the best one is still next to the original is Fallout. Is Fallout to me. But what else? What else about this movie stood out to you that we haven't yet already talked about?
I hope I remember. I know who plays the captain of the African submarine about the captain.
Are you talking about that guy from the Severance movie? The Severance show?
Yes.
I never watched that show.
I thought he looked similar, but I'd never seen the Severance. But I thought he looked someone else.
I don't know him from anything outside of this movie. All I know is after I watched the movie, I looked up his bio, and I think he was like born the same year that I was actually. But it sounds like you like this movie, Final Reckoning, more than I did. So I just want you to tell me and the audience what exactly you liked about this movie, since I didn't care for it too much.
Even the action sequence and
which specific action sequences? Like all of it, like the one in are you talking about in Alaska? The Alaska action scene, or what else? Like what other action scenes?
The biplane.
Oh, the biplane part at the end there.
Even part about how he's able to shut down the entity.
Right.
Like that last moment countdown.
I do like the whole thing with the biplane. I think there's no way, in my mind at least, there's no way they could come up with a bigger, grandier stunt than that biplane. If there was going to be a ninth movie, how do you even compete? How do you even go any higher than the biplane? The biplane was like one of the most motion picture things that's incredible, and you can't go any higher than the biplane. What would you do without going to space and aliens? Like, what will you possibly do in 9 to go past how the biplane was? Because each movie he goes higher and higher. There's no way you could get how. I agree. That's the one part of the movie I actually liked. Is the biplane thing, but that's not like till the last 25-30 minutes. It's like there's really nothing you could do more. How do you say cooler than how that biplane thing was put off and how he really did that and everything.
But when he takes over a second biplane, about what happens to the other pilot that he jumps out? About do we see him landing safely?
No. Wait, which person are you talking about?
Ethan, when he takes over one of the biplanes.
When he took off the first biplane before getting to the second one, that was a bad guy also. It was a bad guy driving the first one they get it onto. So that's why when he's onto that first one, the bad guy that's flying it eventually drops out of the air and on the ground like that. It was a bad guy also, yeah.
No, I thought it's just
No, it was another bad guy. That's why if he wasn't bad, he wouldn't have been fallen off the biplane and not be a part of it anymore. Yeah, that was. Yeah, but the biplane stuff was really, really well done. But there's no way they could top that. Is there? Not in my mind. The biplane is that was the. We could say this. A lot of people can agree. We could say this. That water thing, an hour and a half in it with that Russian to find that and the biplane, those two set pieces, those two things alone are worth the price of admission. But to me, it's not worth how much time was wasted that first hour to an hour and a half with all this stuff that didn't get to the point of the story.
Oh yeah, another thing. What recently who we lost now is Layla Schifrin.
That's the composer, right? The composer of the music.
He's the original composer of the TV version of Mission Impossible behind the theme music.
Right, the composer of music. Right, exactly. Yes.
He passed away. He's 93 years old.
I heard that. Yeah, I heard that happened recently with that. All right, let's see. We just reached a little over 30. We just reached a little over 30 minutes in. So, again, if there's anything you want to tell the audience that we haven't gone over yet, let's talk about it now. What else stood out to you, or what did you like or didn't like about Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning?
Okay. Well, everything they told us about the fake news, about entity could create the fake news, you believe you want to accept it for follow along. Like if you believe like the aliens is coming, or like when you listen.
When they mentioned those people that believed in whatever that was, they didn't explain that any further either. That was kind of like mentioned once and that was it. But I know what you mean.
Also, I like about that. Also about that, we found out they introduced Shia Wingham, the one who's after Ethan. Shia Wingham, the one who's after the Ethan Hunt since the previous film.
Oh.
It turns out he was actually the son of the traitor, Jim Phelps.
Oh, the son of. Yeah, that was also a bit off. That was like you're announcing that now? Like, why? Maybe if that really was the case, why don't you just announce that in Dead Reckoning the first part? Why are you just telling us this now? Like, because they didn't fight. He was mad at him in the beginning of the movie, but at the end they're like shaking hands. I'm like,
to make peace?
Right, to make peace, but it's like, it was like a throwaway storyline that they thought of like last minute. I thought the writing was.
Ethan kills his father.
No, I know that. I know he kills his father in the first movie, but I thought it was like an afterthought to make him the son of in this supposed last movie. Yeah. I know. Again, since we both have different opinions about liking this movie different ways, how would you grade this movie?
I grade this besides almost like a movie about this. Maybe it's a C.
Yeah, oh look, guys. There's another speedboat, a bigger one right there, just so this is live. If you've actually made it this far into the podcast, here's another live speedboat, because we make this authentic, raw, real, no edits, real, original, amazing footage. Yeah, I was gonna go with like I was gonna go with the C also. I thought you were gonna give it like a B or something.
Well, maybe half of it, half C, and half B.
Half? No, you pick one. You think like a B, right?
Well,
a B.
Make a B, yeah.
A B, yeah. I would give it a C or a C plus. You give it a B. I thought if this ends up really being the last one, they really disappointed to me. I think they should come up with a better. I don't know. But again, since you can't go any farther with the biplane, and I don't want to give away about the one character like you said, but like that's the one thing that makes me maybe think that it's the last movie. For people that are fans to know, like, how could you make a ninth movie without that other said character? If you've seen the movie, you know what we're talking about. Outside of the great stuff, now that we're almost 33 minutes in here, is there anything about character, story? I know you find out eventually what that quote meant when she saves him from that water thing. Because there's some interest. Like I said, I like the one line I like when he said to the guy.
Even another movie about he got back to the government facing tribunal thing.
Which thing are we talking about now?
Ethan's back to the government. He's facing tribunal. The trial.
It wasn't really. Oh, you mean when he went to the government thing?
Yeah,
that wasn't really.
Himself,
No. Oh yeah, when he purposely signed himself in, could let himself get caught. All the other cabinet members did not like him for what he wanted to do at all. They were all against it. But the President Sloan from Fallout, which is the other part, she was okay. That's why she let him do, he left the meeting, that's why she left him do that military stuff to get him to the next steps.
Yeah. Get another assignment about facing the world's government about to be uncontrollable. Right,
exactly. Good characters, the villains. To me, Gabriel, outside Morales, Gabriel and Entity didn't even do much. Outside of the beginning and that mask thing, you don't really see the Entity do anything. At least it did a few things in the last one with Dead Reckoning. It barely does anything. So you got weak villain. But what do you think? Story, characters. What else about this do we add on?
Runtime.
Oh, okay. Good, excellent point. The runtime, way too long. 2 hours and 50 minutes. There was so much about this movie in that first hour or first hour and a half that could have been cut. It did not need to be 3 hours long or 2 hours and 50 minutes. These last two movies were entirely too long, whereas with Fallout, that was up until that, up before those two, that was the one that was like 2 hours 28 or 2 hours 30 with what they do there. That Fallout to me is a smooth pinnacle. It does really well done. The top of the series to me where they should have just stopped it right there at the end of Fallout. And its runtime was okay, but both Reckonings, the runtime just drags, and things could have been an hour, hour and a half cut from that to make it better in some way. Way too long. Yeah, good point. What else besides the runtime?
Runtime about the plot holes.
Okay, mention what some of the plot holes are.
Plot holes about something about how the heads you know about the being very predictive about
Which part about predicting? Say that.
Predicting how they even know about what the motives or how they
Yeah. How is anything gonna know or not know about all that? That's one good plot point of stuff. There's a lot of plot holes. If you rewatch it, there's like a whole lot of plot holes. But it's just like that first hour and first hour and a half really did not feel the movie. I did go see it the actual time, the second time by myself, after the first time with another member of our group, and you're right. Runtime's too long. That last scene is open-ended. It's open-ended last scene. So if that's how they ended, this is not thrilled with the way they ended it. All right, tell the audience what your final thoughts and opinions on Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
Just believe that, like if you're getting tired about a runtime, don't get to fall asleep unless you need something like.
Well, I would say with the runtime, if you really want to get right into him doing his actual mission of the MacGuffin of going to that water for that stuff from the previous movie, then just skip to about, once it's on home video or home digital release, just skip about to an hour and a half in, and just pretend that first hour and a half didn't happen, because that was all dragging it from nonsense stuff. Just speed it up to about an hour and a half in to get right to that part. But go ahead, go on.
And sometimes like. Even if like when you get to do some own stunts about I believe that there's would be less running.
But it's a staple for him to always run, though. Yeah. That's what he's all about. Ethan and Tom, he always runs. Oh, but speaking of which, that in the beginning of the first hour, though, when something happens early on that's a mess that we're not getting into to get to other parts, and he has to run, I think it's like in London or something. For something of the gravity of the matter, he could have got into a car or a motorcycle and got to the next location faster. He's running when this bad stuff is happening. You're just running. When in that aspect, you probably should have got on some transport to make you travel a little bit faster than that. So I know what you mean with the running in that way. So yeah. I don't like to believe this is the last one. I hope there's still more somewhere down the line, maybe 5 years from now or so, after he does his other projects. Do you want this to be the last one, or do you want more?
Maybe a spin-off.
Who would you like to be in the spin-off?
Benji.
Like, how would he play like a protagonist, main character in a spin-off?
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be good to have him in a spin-off. And yeah, I never really got into Hot Fuzz, so I can't talk much about Hot Fuzz.
Because in Hot Fuzz, they have two scenes about that they watch, even
right.
The one that Bad Boys 2 referenced.
Oh. What was with Bad Boys 2?
Because in Hot Fuzz, they watch a movie about favorite action movies.
And it was Bad Boys 2?
Yeah, they have that scene, Bad Boys 2.
Oh,
Bad Boys
okay. 2. And if everybody wants to see our Bad Boys 4 Ride and Die podcast, that's towards the end of the 2024 section. We do have that. Go down in my archive if you want to find that. But yeah, Bad Boys 4. The kid that got picked on by them in 2 fights all the bad guys in 4. It's incredible, amazing.
It's like it becomes a Rambo thing.
Yeah, exactly. I never saw Days of Thunder. I haven't seen that yet, but it does intrigue me that for some reason they'll work and make somehow a Days of Thunder 2.
Even that in Days of Thunder, he first met his wife in the cold.
Right. But she annoys all of us in the beginning before the movie starts. It's that same opening. Yes, we know we're at AMC. Just start the movie already. We don't have to be reminded how do you say whatever AMC. We're here because we. Oh, now they gave people audience to notice. Don't come in until 25-30 minutes after its start time, because they wasted people's time. But now letting us know, don't come to your feature till about 25-30 minutes in, because those first 25 minutes we're wasting showing all kinds of crap that the audience doesn't want to see. I would like there to be a Mission 9 personally. I thought this really was a drop off from 5 and 6. Even Dead Reckoning, the one before that, I liked more. I think there's so much they talked about in 4 or made a reference to or a memory that didn't even ever get paid off. And then
one thing with that is as a Henry's journey, the first IMF leader. We'll give the assignment in the first movie.
Right. What about him? What about him specifically, though?
He came back again.
Oh yeah, he comes back in 7 and 8 in both Reckonings. Yeah.
He just wants to get the wants to go more roguish thing.
I can never tell if he's bad or good because they never really tell us which one he is.
Yeah.
I mean, he's still alive and he's not dead, so I'm assuming he has to be somewhat good to have made it this far. But yeah, that's interesting. They brought him back for the 7th and 8th, and like I said, that analyst of the vault of the first movie, they give him more of a story with the so that's fine with that character. But all in all, I thought, in my opinion, this is a bad, poor way to end the series if this really is the last one. I really hope there's a 9. But interesting. I thought you said B before, so when you gave it a C originally, I'm like, is it C? Yeah, to me it's a C or a C plus. I thought you originally gave it like on a B or A type level or something. Nothing. What would you say it's about a B for you?
B minus.
Like a B minus, yeah. To me, I would rank it pretty close to. Honestly, I would rank it closer to Mission Impossible 2 than any other movie. What was your ranking of the other movies?
Okay, other movies?
Yeah, you said 2 was the lowest. What's your 7th spot?
The first movie.
Oh, you said, the first movie you so the 7th spot. Then what's 6 through 1?
6 through 1, the number 1 is Ghost Protocol.
Is that Ghost Protocol 6 or 1?
1.
1. For me, that's not that's not even in my top 3. For me, Ghost Protocol is down lower on the list. Okay.
Ghost Protocol, like with Jeremy Renner, and even they go to the climbing the tallest building.
No, I like the building in the middle, but all that stuff in the movie before and after the building to me was, especially the ending of the 3rd act, didn't hold my attention. To me, the 3rd act of Ghost Protocol was off compared to the other movies, at least to me. But so I would actually have Ghost Protocol further down on the list. I'm going to. My friend can take me to see you. So I like to see your area. I like to see that park and all that other stuff you were talking about. But yeah, just give your closing remarks to the audience about Mission Impossible: Final Reckoning.
Well, bring more masks about
I don't like that there was only one mask scene.
Yeah.
They didn't do any more mask things. They could have.
Except there's a mask if you're underwater or something.
No, that's not what I meant. I meant like the mask scenes when it goes over the face. They should have done more of that. And to me, again, the team wasn't held together the way the team was in this one. The team was better in 4, 5, and 6. And I mean, that's all we have for now. Yeah, if you made it this far, thanks for watching us. Like and comment. If you comment what you want to say about the Mission Impossible franchise. Do you want to see a Mission 9, or do you think they should quit while they're ahead and this is the last one? What do you think? All your Mission Impossible thoughts down below. And I guess that's it, right?
Yeah.
All right. And by the way, I just want to say, this is so incredible, by the way, also, that we're finally doing this one face-to-face in person after so many virtual. So I want to thank Avi again for coming on in person, and because just to me, face-to-face in person is always better than virtual, no doubt, in every aspect of life. So with all that said, we'll see you at the movies. We'll see you at the movies. Everybody dance and have a good time. This is friend and co-host Avi and Millennial Man Motions Entertainment, LLC, signing out. Dun 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 dun.